Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today's episode is going to blow your mind, because we're diving into a coin that almost everyone in the United States has seen or handled at some point. I'm talking about the 1965 Washington quarter. It's one of the most common coins out there, or at least, that's what people think. But what if I told you that one version of the seemingly ordinary quarter ended up being worth a staggering $1.7 million? Yeah, you heard that right. A 25-cent coin from 1965 that looks like any other you've ever spent, turned out to be one of the most valuable quarters in American history. So sit back, because we're about to uncover how that happened, what to look for, and why this year is so important in the world of coin collecting. Let's rewind the clock for a second and talk about what was happening in 1965. Up until that point, quarters were made of 90% silver. But in the early 60s, the demand for silver skyrocketed. The government realized they couldn't keep producing silver coins without running into serious problems. So in 1965, they made a big change. They removed silver from dimes and quarters, and started using a copper-nickel clad composition instead. This was a huge turning point. The 1965 quarter became the very first clad quarter ever produced, and millions were minted. Over 1.8 billion of them came out of the mint that year. So naturally, most people assume that the 1965 quarter is just a regular piece of change. And in most cases, that's true. But here's where it gets interesting. Because during that transitional period, mistakes were made. And one of those mistakes turned into $1 million mystery. One coin, just 1A, was mistakenly struck on a 90% silver plankett from the previous year. This means it wasn't supposed to exist at all. It's what collectors call a transitional error, and it's incredibly rare. This 1965 quarter looked just like any other, but when tested, it revealed a silver composition instead of clad. That single coin, in nearly perfect condition, later went on to be graded by a professional grading service. It received a high mint state grade, was authenticated as a legitimate silver-struck 1965 quarter, and eventually sold at auction for an unbelievable $1.7 million. Now let's stop right here for a second. Think about this. A coin that was meant to be worth 25 cents, that probably slipped through the cracks at the mint during a major national change in how coins were made, somehow survived. It was never melted down, never lost, and never spent into circulation. And because one person took the time to notice that something about it was different, it became one of the most expensive quarters ever sold. So now you're probably asking, how do I know if my 1965 quarter is one of the rare ones? Here's what to look for. First, the sound. Silver quarters make a distinctive ringing sound when dropped compared to clad coins. If you've got a 1965 quarter that rings like a 1964 silver one, you might be onto something. Second, the edges. Clad quarters have a visible copper edge when you look at the side of the coin. Silver quarters have a solid silver-looking edge with no copper showing. If you see a 1965 quarter with no copper stripe on the edge, that's a major red flag, in a good way. Third, the weight. A silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams, while a clad quarter weighs a little over 5.6 grams. That small difference can mean a huge payday if you've got the right tools to measure it. And finally, the feel and color. Silver coins tend to have a duller, smoother finish compared to the brighter look of modern clad coins. It's a subtle difference, but once you've handled a few, you'll start to notice it. Now I want to be clear, most 1965 quarters are worth face value. Some in uncirculated condition can go for a few dollars to maybe $50 if they're in pristine shape. But finding one struck on a silver plankett, especially in high mint state condition, is like finding a needle in a haystack. But that needle could be worth over $1 million. It's stories like this that make coin collecting so fascinating. One mistake, one coin, one bit of curiosity, that's all it takes to turn loose change into life-changing money. And the craziest part is, these coins are still out there, sitting in jars, drawers, maybe even in your pocket right now. So the next time you're sorting through your quarters, don't just look at the date, feel the weight, check the edge, listen to the sound, because that next rare coin could be in your hand, and you might not even realize it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this story and want more amazing coin finds, collecting tips, and breakdowns of what's hot in the world of rare coins, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next episode. And if you think you've got a rare 1965 quarter or something else cool, let me know in the comments. You might just be sitting on the next big discovery. Until next time, keep hunting, keep collecting, and always check your change, because one coin can change everything. Voice over cues. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're into coins, treasures in your pocket, or just love stories about rare finds, then you're going to want to hear this. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that's taken the collecting world by storm. It's the 1987D Washington quarter. Yeah, that's right, a irregular-looking quarter that might be sitting in your change jar right now. But don't be fooled. One of those coins sold for a jaw-dropping $1.1 million. That's not a typo. So what makes it so special? Let's break it down. First off, a little background on the Washington quarter. It was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design stuck around for decades, and in 1987, the mint produced millions of those coins. Specifically, the Denver Mint A, that's the D, in 1987 DA struck over 655 million quarters that year. So you're probably thinking, with that many coins, how could any of them be worth more than 25 cents? Here's where it gets interesting. Not all quarters are created equal. Some are struck with errors, others are made from the wrong plan case, and just a very few are preserved in such perfect condition that collectors go absolutely crazy for them. Now let's talk about the star of the show, the $1 million 1987D quarter. This particular coin wasn't just any old quarter. It was what collectors call a mint state coin. That means it was never circulated, never touched by human hands, and kept in pristine condition from the moment it left the mint. But it gets even better. This coin was graded MS68 by a professional grading service. That might not sound like much if you're new to the coin world. But trust me, that's a big deal. It's like getting a perfect score on a test that almost nobody passes. So why would someone pay over $1 million for it? Well, rarity is one thing, condition is another. But demand, that's the final piece. Coin collectors are always hunting for the best, and when a coin is the best known example in the world, it becomes a trophy piece. You're not just buying a coin, you're buying history, prestige, bragging rights, and a one-of-a-kind addition to a high-end collection. But there's also something else at play here, the mystery and thrill of the hunt. Think about it. How many 1987D quarters have you handled in your life? Hundreds? Thousands? And yet, one of them might be hiding a small fortune. Some of these rare coins don't look different to the naked eye. You need a magnifying glass, maybe a microscope, and a whole lot of knowledge to spot them. So how can you tell if your 1987D Washington quarter is worth big money? Here are a few things to look for. First, check the condition. If your coin looks like it just came out of a mint set, no scratches, no wear, and a beautiful luster, you might have something special. Second, look for errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and coins struck on the wrong metal plan kit are all known to boost value significantly. And finally, consider getting your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A high grade can turn a pocket change find into a serious payday. Now let's get back to that $1 million coin. It didn't just pop up overnight. It was part of a private auction where elite collectors were bidding for the best of the best. And when the dust settled, the winning bid came in at over $1.1 million. That's life-changing money for a coin that, on the surface, looks just like any other 1987D quarter. Of course, not every 1987D is going to make you a millionaire. Most of them are still worth 25 cents, maybe a few bucks if they're in good shape. But the fact that even one of them reached that kind of value tells you that there are still treasures out there, waiting to be found. So next time you're going through your change, don't overlook the quarters. Pay attention to the details. Check the mint marks, look at the dates, and if you find a 1987D that looks unusually flawless, it might just be worth getting it checked out. You never know, you might be holding a coin that could change your life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories about rare coins, valuable finds, and how to spot treasure in your own pocket, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a post. Got a coin you want me to check out? Drop it in the comments, and maybe it'll be featured in the next video. Until next time, happy collecting, and keep hunting for those hidden gems. Want a version with timestamps, B-roll suggestions, or call to actions optimized for SEO? I can help with that too. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today we've got something that's going to blow your mind. We're talking about a regular looking coin that could be sitting in your pocket right now. It's the 1988D Washington quarter. Now before you roll your eyes and think it's just another quarter, let me tell you one of these coins, under the right conditions, sold for a staggering $1.2 million. Yeah, you heard that right, a 25-cent coin, worth over $1 million. So how is that even possible? Let's break it down and go deep into the history, what to look for, and how one collector turns spare change into a serious fortune. First, let's talk about the Washington quarter itself. This design first hit circulation back in 1932. To celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The obverse side features the iconic bust of Washington, and the reverse side has the American eagle, wings spread. It's a classic design that stayed consistent for decades until the state quarters came around in 1999. That means the 1988D is part of the last generation of what collectors now consider the classic Washington quarters. Now, in 1988, the Denver Mint struck over 596 million of these coins. That's a massive number. So on the surface, a 1988D quarter doesn't sound rare at all. But here's the thing, it's not about how many were made, it's about how many survived in perfect condition or with specific errors that make them incredibly valuable. Let's get into the good stuff. A $1 million story. One 1988D quarter sold for a jaw-dropping $1.2 million at a high-profile private auction. What made that coin so special? Two major things. First, the condition. This coin was preserved in what collectors call mint state. That means no scratches, no wear, and flawless surfaces. It received an MS-68 grade, which is nearly unheard of for a coin that's over 30 years old and intended for everyday circulation. Second, this coin had an ultra-rare minting error. Experts believe it was struck on a transitional plan kit, possibly left over from a previous coin series. That alone would make it rare. But combine that with the incredible condition and the fact that only one known example like this exists, and suddenly you have a coin that's a collector's dream. It became what they call a registry coin, and the highest known example in existence, and that pushed its value into the stratosphere. So now you're probably asking yourself, how do I know if I've got a valuable 1988D quarter? Well, here's what you need to look for. Start with the basics. Flip the coin and look at the condition. Does it have a strong strike? Is the luster still bright? No scratches, no smudges, no wear on the high points of Washington's hair or the eagle's wings? That's a good sign. If it looks like it just came out of a mint set, you're off to a good start. Next, check for errors. Some of the most valuable coins ever sold were mistakes. Look for double die obverses, off-center strikes, coins with missing or weak lettering, and especially coins struck on the wrong metal. If your coin has an unusual color or weight, that could be a sign it was struck on a foreign or leftover plan kit. And finally, if you think your coin might be rare, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies will authenticate or grade the coin, and that's where the real value starts. A coin that grades at MS-65 or higher is already rare. If you've somehow got one at MS-68, you might be sitting on a gold mine. Now I want to make something clear: not every 1988D quarter is worth millions. Most of them are still just worth 25 cents. But every once in a while, a rare combination of condition and error creates the perfect storm. That's when the big money comes into play. And the best part is, these coins are still out there. They haven't all been found. You could be the next person to discover one. Imagine finding one of these in a roll of quarters, in your change from the grocery store, or tucked away in a drawer for decades. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's not just about history, it's about the thrill of the hunt. So next time you come across a 1988D quarter, don't just toss it aside. Give it a good look. Pay attention to the details. And who knows, you might be holding a piece of American history worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even a college education. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories about rare coins, how to spot valuable errors, and how to turn everyday change into serious cash, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a drop. If you've got a coin you're curious about, drop a comment below. I read them all, and who knows, your coin might be the next one we feature in a video. Until next time, happy collecting, and keep checking your change. You never know what treasures are waiting for you. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today's video is all about a coin that you've probably seen 100 times. Maybe even spent without a second thought. But here's the twist: one rare version of this exact coin ended up selling for a staggering $1.3 million. Yeah, you heard that right. I'm talking about the 1984D Washington quarter. This isn't just any coin. This is a piece of American currency that could be hiding a massive secret. And if you're a collector, a history buff, or just someone hoping to find hidden treasures in your pocket change, then this story is going to blow your mind. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to celebrate George Washington's 200th birthday. The design stuck around for decades and became one of the most iconic coins in American history. The obverse features Washington's profile, and the reverse, until 1998, displayed the heraldic eagle with outstretched wings. Now in 1984, the Denver Mint, that's what the D Mint mark stands for, struck over 546 million of these quarters. That's a huge number. So on the surface, the 1984D quarter is one of the most common coins out there. You'd think it's just a regular piece of change, worth 25 cents like any other. But that's where this story gets interesting. One of those coins broke all expectations. It wasn't just any 1984D quarter. It was a unique piece, in incredible condition, with a striking mint error that made it a once-in-a-lifetime find. This single quarter went on to sell for an unbelievable $1.3 million at a private auction. Now you're probably wondering what made this coin so special. First off, let's talk about condition. This wasn't a coin pulled out of circulation. It was a mint-state specimen, graded MS-68 by a professional coin grading service. That grade is almost perfect and extremely rare for a coin intended for daily use. Most coins from the 80s have been through vending machines, pockets, purses, and coin jars for decades. So to find one that looks like it was just minted yesterday is nearly impossible. Second, this coin had a rare and dramatic mint error. Experts believe it was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it was accidentally minted on a blank intended for a completely different coin. That instantly makes it an anomaly. Combine that with flawless surfaces, bold strikes, and the fact that it's the only known example of its kind, and you've got something that serious collectors will fight over. But it's not just about the rarity, it's about the story. This coin represents everything that makes coin collecting so exciting. A tiny piece of metal, easily overlooked, yet carrying a hidden story, a mysterious error, and a life-changing value. Now let's talk about what you should be looking for. Because here's the thing, the $1 million quarter wasn't flashy. It didn't come covered in diamonds or gold. It looked just like any other 1984D quarter, until an expert got it under the microscope. So if you want to hunt for one of these treasures, here's what you need to do. First, Check the date and mint mark. Make sure it's a 1984 with the D mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Next, look at the condition. Does the coin look new? Is the detail on Washington's face sharp? Are the feathers on the eagle's wings crisp and defined? That's a good sign. Now look for anything unusual. Is the coin off-center? Are there any double letters or numbers? Is the color off a maybe darker or lighter than a typical quarter? Does it seem thinner or thicker than normal? These could be signs of a mint error or a wrong plankett, and if you think you might have something special, don't take it to a pawn shop. Instead, send it to a trusted coin grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll evaluate the coin, assign it a grade, and authenticate any errors. A high-grade coin with the right error can instantly jump from being worth face value to thousands or in this case, over $1 million. The truth is, most 1984D quarters are still worth 25 cents. But all it takes is one rare coin, with one strange error and the right condition, to change everything. That's what makes this hobby so addicting. You never know what's out there. You never know what might be sitting in your change jar, forgotten in an old drawer, or stuck in the cup holder of your car. So before you spend that next quarter, take a closer look. You might just be holding a tiny piece of American history, one that could be worth far more than you think. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want more content about rare coins, incredible finds, and how to turn pocket change into real value, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe, and tape that notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you've got a 1984D quarter or any other interesting coin you want me to look into, drop a comment below. Who knows, your coin might be the next one featured in a $1 million story. Until next time, happy hunting and keep checking your change, because the next big discovery could be in your hands right now. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a coin that might seem pretty average at first glance, but don't let the looks fool you. One special version of the 1998p Washington quarter ended up being worth an absolutely insane $1.4 million. That's right, a coin you've probably held in your hand or tossed into a vending machine could be worth more than most luxury cars, more than a house, maybe even more than your entire savings account. So how did a 1998 quarter go from pocket change to $1 million treasure? Let's get into it. Let's start with a bit of background. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, originally created to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design stuck around for decades. On the front, we've got the profile of George Washington. On the back, until 1998, we had the American eagle A-wing spread, perched on a bundle of arrows. That eagle design ended in 1998, making that year a kind of closing chapter for the classic quarter era. In 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program, which completely changed the reverse designs and sparked a modern collecting craze. So the 1998 quarter, especially the one with the Philadelphia Mint mark out of PA, became the last of its kind. That alone gives it some historical importance. Now in 1998, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 896 million quarters. So at first glance, the 1998p quarter doesn't seem rare at all. But remember, rarity is not just about how many were made, it's about how many were made with unique characteristics, errors, or in perfect condition. And that's where things get interesting. One particular 1998p quarter shocked collectors when it appeared at a private auction and ended up selling for $1.4 million. So what made it so special? This coin had two things going for it. First, it was in an unbelievably pristine state. It was graded mint state 68A. That's about as close to perfection as a coin can get. No scratches, no blemishes, flawless surfaces. Combine that with sharp detail, brilliant luster, and the fact that it's over 25 years old and still in that condition, and you've got something extremely rare. But there was more. This quarter had what collectors call a dramatic mint error. It was a transitional error struck on a plankett that was never meant for this coin. In this case, Experts believe it was struck on a 90% silver planchet that was left over from a special proof or commemorative coin. That is incredibly rare, because quarters in 1998 were supposed to be made of copper nickel clad, not silver. So now we've got a perfect storm, a coin in near perfect condition, struck with the wrong metal, and from the final year of a long-standing design. That combination made it one of the rarest quarters known, and collectors were willing to pay top dollar to own it. $1.4 million, to be exact. Now let's talk about how you can tell if your 1998p quarter is valuable. Because the truth is, most of them are still worth just 25 cents. But a few key signs could mean you've got something special. First, check the edge of the coin. A typical clad quarter will show a copper-colored line along the rim. But if your 1998p quarter has a solid silver edge with no copper, that's a sign it might have been struck on a silver planchet. Second, the weight. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver planchet from earlier years would weigh closer to 6.25 grams. It's a small difference, but a good digital scale can spot it. Next, pay attention to the overall condition. If the coin looks like it's never been touched and no scratches, no marks, brilliant shine, and you might have a high-grade coin worth submitting to a grading service. And finally, look for any signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual luster. Sometimes even minor errors or striking anomalies can significantly increase a coin's value, especially when combined with top-tier condition. If you think you've got something special, don't just throw it in a coin jar. Instead, submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll analyze the metal content, grade the condition, and authenticate any errors. That's the first real step toward turning your quarter into serious cash. So what's the takeaway here? Never underestimate the coins in your change. The 1998p quarter might look ordinary, but the right one, under the right circumstances, can be worth over $1 million. That's what makes this hobby so exciting. It's not just about collecting it's about the thrill of the hunt, the story behind each coin, and the possibility that something small could be hiding a massive secret. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more coin collecting stories, tips, and unbelievable finds. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And if you've got a 1998p quarter or any other coin you think might be rare, let me know in the comments. I just might feature it in the next episode. Until next time, happy hunting, keep checking your change, and remember, the next $1 million coin could be right in your pocket. Let me know if you want this version optimized for visuals, voiceover pacing, or social media reels. I can also help you design the perfect thumbnail, title, and description for YouTube.